In 1968, biologist John Calhoun built a small utopian colony at the National Institute of Mental Health in Maryland that somewhat resembled life in the modern world. It was a cube with everything a mouse could ever want: plenty of food and water, a perfect climate, paper risks to make cozy nests, and 256 small burrows. The zone was free of predators and other worries, so a mouse could theoretically live to a ripe old age there without any worries. But as with humans, when there were no problems, they had to generate them for themselves.
Here Martin from the channel Go Deeper invites you to subscribe. Thank you.
As Fyodor Dostoevsky once said, the secret of human existence lies not in simply surviving, but in finding something worth living for. The mice in Calhoun's experiment did not have that goal. The plan was simple: to create a microsociety with nothing missing and see what would happen. So, a cage was built with a square base with sides less than 3 meters long and 1.5 meters high, and 8 healthy individuals of both sexes were introduced there. The adaptation period lasted until the 104th day, when the first mice of the new generation were born. During this period, they divided the territory and began to build their first nests. Dominant individuals, whose social position was higher, had more numerous offspring. Eventually, this rapid growth slowed down, but the population continued to grow, peaking at 2,200 mice in the 19th month. And then, when it was very pleasant, no one lacked anything, the drama began. The point is that in the wild, infant mortality among mice is high because most of the young are eaten by predators or die of disease. In the mouse utopia, the young rarely died. As a result, there were far more young individuals than usual, and they were stronger. It was observed that mice excluded for some reason could not escape from the apparent paradise. For in a normal environment, rodents form social hierarchies, with dominant alpha males controlling harems of females. The alphas gain position through fighting, and whoever loses will flee to some remote corner to start over in another place. In the experimental artificial environment, huge hordes of rejected mice gathered in the middle of the enclosure. Often they were weakened, injured, and scarred. Every so often, another big fight would break out. It was simply senseless violence. The alpha males guarded their harem and defended the females from adoring males. But given much the size of this population, there was always a new dozen youngsters ready to fight. So the alpha males quickly became exhausted, and some stopped defending their females altogether. There was a gradual decline in the ability to defend one's territory, while aggressive behavior became more common in females and the maternal instinct declined. As a result, mink with lactating females were regularly invaded by other rebellious males. The mothers fought back, but often to the detriment of their young. A few individuals even attacked their own young or abandoned them, cramming them into various enclosures, leaving them to die of neglect. Young maturing individuals found no place for themselves in a social organization in which all roles were already filled. In natural conditions, the way out of such a situation is to emigrate, change jobs or schools, but in the experiment it was impossible. So they fought so fiercely for these roles that the side effect became the collapse of a healthy social structure. Eventually, other deviant behaviors emerged, as mice that were inadequately raised or kicked out of the nest early failed to develop healthy social relationships and therefore had trouble understanding other individuals as adults. Maladaptive females began to isolate themselves like hermits in empty burrows. Meanwhile, maladaptive males engaged in grooming, almost all day long, cleaning and licking themselves hour after hour. Calhoun called them beautiful. And yet, even obsessed with their appearance, these men showed no interest in courting women, no interest in sex. The researcher noted that such maladaptive behavior spread like a virus from mouse to mouse. He called this phenomenon a behavioral sink. Gradually, the mice no longer paired up or engaged constructively in society, so the population began to die out. They avoided problems associated with unwanted contact, so they never developed complex adult behaviors. The individuals of beauty cultivated peaceful comfort, and Calhoun described their halted development as follows.
They never learned to be aggressive, which is necessary to defend their homelands. They never learned courtship, so there was no mating. Since there was no pairing, there were no offspring.
The downfall of Utopia was due to the fact that the mice were born into a world that was getting more crowded every day, and there were far more mice than meaningful social roles for them to fulfill. Although they were provided with basic goods, having more and more peers, they also had more and more enemies, and had difficulty and stress in defending their territory, so the mice abandoned these responsibilities altogether, deciding that it would be more practical to withdraw from all activity. As the population stopped regenerating, its path to extinction was clear. What was surprising was that no recovery was observed, even after numbers declined to those of the first days of the experiment. Many of the females that were still able to get pregnant, such as the beautiful, had forever lost the social ability to interact with others. By the spring of 1973, less than 5 years after the experiment began, the population had dropped from 2,200 to 0. Mouse heaven was extinct. Project Utopia 25 ended half a century ago, but it continues to fascinate people, especially as a grim metaphor for human society, a parable illustrating the dangers of socialist welfare states that, while providing material goods, remove healthy challenges from people's lives, challenges that build character and promote personal growth. Birth control advocates have repeatedly referred to Calhoun's mouse as a warning about how uncontrolled population growth destroys family life. But more recent interpretations blame the demise of the mouse utopia on the aggression of a few males hoarding valuable resources, in this case better minks and more fertile females, which caused frustration in the remaining individuals. Other critics lament the supposed loss of traditional gender roles, leaving useless males and hyper-aggressive females. So much for the video. I invite you to subscribe and see the next one.